believe in yourself. It's a big thing. It may sound a very simple, repetitive statement when I say believe in yourself, but let me share with you something that happened very recently in my life. Some of you may know, most of you may know, who have interacted with me, that I was a chain smoker at one point in time. I used to smoke about 30 to 40 cigarettes a day, and nobody would have probably seen me without a cigarette outside a hall. That was the condition I was in, and so much so that every morning when I wake up, when my cook gets the morning filter coffee ready, she has to keep the ashtray next to the coffee, so that the moment I take my first sip, I need to light my cigarette. That is how I was, how bad I was. Now thinking back, I feel ashamed of what I was, but be that as it may, everybody in my family tried to dissuade me from it. My wife, my daughters, my father, my mother, so much so that my father, once, we live in the same house, we are a joint family. Once he wrote a letter addressed to my office address, an inland mail, because he said, I don't know how to tell you in person. Please read this letter. It reached that stage. But every time when somebody suggested, I would come up with some reason or the other saying, no, it's very difficult. If I don't have my morning cigarette, I'll have a headache, I can't work, I feel tense, I feel nervous. All kinds of stories, some of which I can't even tell you here. All kinds of excuses I would come up with. And I was convinced that I can never give up. As Bernard Shaw had said, I've tried it successfully 50 times, giving up, and every time I got back to it. But as it happened, something in my personal life about 9 months ago, and that day I decided, I'm not going to smoke. On that day, I had about 6 packs of cigarette with me. I gave it to my driver and said, throw it all in the dustbin. Of course, he was a smart guy, and he came back with some 800 rupees, said I sold it to the shop. But I gave up, and it's now 9 months, or a little more than 9 months now, I haven't touched. No, that's not the main story. Of course, I did challenge myself moving around with people with whom I used to smoke and see whether I'm getting tempted. I started playing bridge to see whether I'm getting tempted. The normal scenarios where I would normally smoke. I gave up. But then it taught me one thing. It's in our head that we decide do or not to do. If we decide not to do, we are capable of coming with excuses. If we decide to do, we are capable of coming up with ways to do it. It's all in our head ultimately. So it all boils down to whether you have the belief and the faith in yourself that you can. Once you start with that faith, a lot of other things will follow very easily. So first, my friends, let's believe in ourselves, our ability, our capabilities to do what we want to do. That's the starting point. Take it in. What I'm telling you, it may sound very superficial or very pedantic when I say this, but there's a lot of stuff in it based on my personal experience. I'm telling you, if you start believing in what you want to do, many of the hurdles will vanish. The famous thing about Ricky Ponting. Somebody asked him, Mr. Ponting, when you get onto the field, do you map where the fielders are so that you know where to hit the ball? No, you look around the field and you map that thing in your head. Ponting very famously said, no, I don't map the fielders. The interviewer was flummoxed. He said, so how do you manage to always hit the boundaries? He said, when I look around the field, I map the gaps in the head, not the fielders. I don't map the fielders, I map the gaps between the fielders so that when I want to hit the ball, my hand-eye coordination will take it between the gaps and not to the fielder. So it's about conditioning your mind to believing in what you can do, what you want to do. That's the starting point. 2, once you believe in yourself, prepare yourself for the game. A straight drive of Sachin Tendulkar or a cover drive of Virat Kohli or Ricky Ponting may sound very effortless. Or a scoop of Sky, Surya Kumar Yadav, it may look very effortless. Or uppercut of Virendra Sehwag. But they have practiced that 10,000 times in the nets to get that one shot on the field. It's not as easy as we want to think it is. To get that one shot on the field, one boundary on the field during a match, you have practiced 10,000 times in the nets. A very famous quote attributed to Bruce Lee. Some of you may have heard this before. Bruce Lee is supposed to have said, I don't fear a man who knows 10,000 tricks. but I fear a man who knows one trick and practices 10,000 times. Think it over. I don't fear a man who knows 10,000 tricks, because he knows nothing. But I fear a man who knows only one trick but has practiced it 10,000 times. That applies to all of us. It's not enough if you skim the surface. You need to get into it. If you really want to succeed, if you really want to make it count and succeed, you need to practice. Some of you may even wonder, why am I doing this repeatedly? Why am I doing it again and again? Isn't it a waste of time, money, and resources? But the fact is, the more you practice, the better will be when the actual game starts. The more you practice, the better you will be when the game starts on 1st of July. So don't be shy. Practice. Get into it. Get into the depth. Discuss. Jay Sridhar had said, if you have doubts, ask someone. Someone will tell you. Someone will share their experiences. It's all about sharing best practices to make each one of us individually better and collectively excellent. Together we can make a lot of difference. Mario had a beautiful thing, unite for good. Collectively we can do wonders if each one of us does a little bit better than what we could otherwise do. Once you get your act together in the game, your practice, then you need to be very clear about what your destination is, what your goals are. Your goals can't be something that you keep revising every morning. That's not your goal. Goal is something you set once and try to work towards as you go along. Not something that every morning you say, okay, today what's my goal? No, let me think. That doesn't work. Again, some of you have come to my office would probably have seen a huge collection of books in my room. I do read a lot of books, all non-fiction, of course. I don't read fiction at all. I feel it's a huge waste of time. But no disrespect to those who read fiction. But I don't believe in reading fiction. I read a lot of non-fiction, most of biographies. Now, this kind of goals and staying focused, something that made a huge impact on me, let me share that with you. The autobiography of Jack Ma. I'm sure all of you know who Jack Ma is, the founder of Alibaba. Lovely book. I've read that some 8 times. One of the things he mentions in that, the book is called Alibaba. He says, if I put 50 rabbits in a room with no windows, with just a door, and I put you inside that room, lock the door and give you 30 minutes with a single assignment that you come back with 1 rabbit. I'll give you 30 minutes with 50 rabbits in the room. I'll give you 30 minutes, you come back with 1 rabbit. And he says, 95% of the people will catch none at the end of 30 minutes. The reason is, the moment they enter the room, they'll find 1 rabbit very close to their feet. So you jump and try to catch that thing, it'll run away. Meanwhile, you'll see another one close to your feet on this side. You try to catch this, and this game goes on for the entire 30 minutes, you'll catch none. So he says, the best way to catch 1 rabbit is, the moment you enter the room, set your eyes on 1 rabbit, chase, go after it, and catch that. You'll be able to catch it. You can clap if you want to clap, don't have to hesitate. That works. The story might sound funny, the story might sound interesting, but what is the message behind that? How often are we getting distracted as we move along by some other activity, some other task, some other goal that takes you away from your original thought, original plan, original goal? It happens all the time. You look back at your own lives and how many times have you got distracted, digressed from what you originally wanted to achieve? So that's the story of rabbit. So friends, it's easy to get distracted. It requires courage, discipline not to get distracted. And if you want to be successful, you need to learn the art of being disciplined and not getting distracted. These are all very simple statements, but I want you to think it over. Practice it in your life. Trust me, it will make a huge difference. Once you know your goals and are focused, then comes the actual techniques. First technique is, before I tell you what the first technique is, let me tell you one very interesting story. Do you want to know one interesting story?
Yes.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
I was watching a YouTube video of an American TV talk show, which was 3 men on one side, 3 women on the other side, a moderator in the middle, a show where they were discussing the difference between men and women. I saw this video. It might be, I may be able to give you some YouTube link later if I can locate it, but I actually saw this video. There, one of the ladies in that program, she says, married middle-aged lady, she says, my husband is a very nice man, very good man. They have been married for some 24 years or something, she said in that. He's a very nice man, but is extremely unromantic. So the men there know what's happening. So the moderator took the courage and said, what do you mean? She said, if I ask him, honey, shall we go out for dinner? He says, yes, sure, we go out for dinner. He says, sweetheart, can we go on a holiday? Sure, we go on a holiday. Can we have a party next week at home? Can we host a party? Sure, we'll do that. Can I buy this? Of course you can. So the men there said, what's wrong with you? You're lucky to get a husband like this who says yes to everything, right? Don't you agree? The lady was very lucky. Yeah. You don't know what's coming, so you don't want to agree. So he said, you must be a lucky woman. She said, yes. He says yes to everything. But the only problem is in all these 24 years, not once has he suggested this himself. Not once has he said, honey, can we go out for dinner? He has never asked. If I ask, he'll say yes. How many of the men can relate to this? Not once has he ever asked, can we go out, can we party, can we go on a vacation? But every time I ask him, he says yes. So the lady said, I'm getting frustrated. I'm waiting for some day where he will say, come, let's go out for dinner. I wait, I'm all dressed up. He'll come, watch the TV. He said, oh, what are you dressed up for? He said, can we go out for dinner? Of course, he'll immediately get dressed and take me out. But it doesn't even occur to him that he has to ask. So when I saw this, of course, I could relate it in my own life too. So next morning, I called Vinita. I said, come, let's go out for dinner tonight. She looked at me, what is wrong with you? But story apart, what is a lesson that we can learn? People who are not in Rotary, who could be in Rotary, are all like good husbands. They are not going to come and ask you. You need to ask and they will say yes. You need to ask. Or whether it's joining Rotary or even contribution for a project or whatever else you want people to do, learn to ask. They're all like good husbands. Trust me, they're very good. But you need to ask. So the first technique that you need to really internalize is your asking people. Ask. Things will happen. Like the lady was married for 24 years. I mean, that small clip I saw left a deep impact on me, and I changed my lifestyle thereafter. Every evening I say, can we go out? So, of course, now she has gotten wise to it. She says, I know you watched some TV program, now come to. But learn to ask. The simple technique is ask. The next technique is a corollary to this, is ask the right questions. See, if you were to meet a person who is not in Rotary and who could be a Rotarian, what would you ask? Or what would you tell? What would you tell that person to get him or her interested in Rotary? Will you say, you know, in 1905, four people in a cold wintry evening in Chicago, they met together and said, let's get together and form an association. Is that what you're going to start? Will you? Or are you going to say, do you know which organization eradicated polio from the face of this earth? The second vaccine preventable disease eradicated due to the efforts of Rotary. Are you going to say this? Imagine, put yourself in the shoes of a person who is not a Rotarian, and a Rotarian comes and tells you all this. Are you going to be so impressed? Oh, can I join Rotary? Are you going to say this? Think it over. Oftentimes we are so thrilled with our own achievements, thrilled with our own laurels that we think we have earned over the years as an organization, that we fail to realize or remember that means nothing to somebody who is not a part of the organization. Not till such time he or she becomes a part of you. Till such time it means nothing. So all your talk about Now think it over. What will you talk? You see a non-Rotarian who could be a Rotarian. What will let me see what is your line of thinking. What will you talk to get him or her interested in joining Rotary? Mario kept saying membership, membership, membership. That's our only mantra. What will you ask? What will you say? Huh? Why don't you come for a meeting? Okay, great. Why should he come? If you are the member, if somebody, why don't you come for a meeting? You say, oh, okay, I'll come for a meeting. Are you going to say this? Okay, I take that now. What else would you ask? Mm-hmm. Okay. Working with good friends. So you have given yourself a certificate that you are a good friend and you want him to believe that. No, those are all, the thing is, all of us forget the fact that these are self-given certificates. Great organization, we are good people. These are all self-given certificates. We claim that we are so-and-so, so-and-so, and we want the entire world to believe that. No, I'm not saying you're lying, but from a person who is outside the system, of what interest is that? That's why I'm saying learn to ask the right questions. It's not enough to ask the questions, you should learn to ask the right questions. That is? Now you're talking sense. You are now close to it. Ask that person what he or she wants. Don't tell them what you want. Ask that person, what do you want to do? How would you want to contribute? How would you want to be associated? You tell us. We will find a solution which is of interest to you. Not saying, this is of interest to me, why don't you be a part of my interest? All the time we do this. We suggest something and say, oh, we are doing great, so why don't you be a part of this greatness? Instead, flip the table now. Flip the chart. Ask, what would you like to do, and let's together discuss how we can do it. So put the other person first, a lot of things will change. The way you look at things, the way you express, the way you talk, the way you question, the way you propose, all those things will change if you remove yourself from the center and put that other person in the center. So ask the right questions. It's not enough to ask the questions. Ask the right questions. And finally, Mario did mention, Sridhar did mention, Sarah did mention in a very big way a while ago. Thinking big is not a crime. Thinking big is not a crime. It's better to achieve, set yourself reaching 10 and achieving 5, rather than setting yourself 3 and achieving 4. In first case, you have not achieved your target. Second case, you exceeded your target, which is better. Those of you who are familiar with the numbers will know the answer. But then think big. Oftentimes, we are constrained by our belief that we need to complete everything before our year ends. Or we need to do it all within our own club, by our own means. Each one of that is false, is a myth. You don't have to complete things in 1 year. You don't have to do things only with your own resources. You don't have to think of doing projects only by your own club. Everything can be expanded if your vision is bigger. You could probably join hands with a few clubs. You could probably think of doing a project which is 4 or 5 years. Do one bit every year. But it will be a substantial signature even at the end of 5 years. Or it could be you join hands with another organization like we did as an organization. Rotary joined hands with WHO, USAID, GCC, everything. So similarly, you can join hands with so many other organizations. So a lot of things can happen the moment you forget the fact that it has to be done within your year as president. Change that mindset. You are a president for a club for only 1 year. Club is perennial. So are you going to restrict what the club can do by your limited dreams? Ask this question. Ask yourself this question. Are you going to subject your club to inferior performance, substandard performance, because you don't have the courage and the guts to think big? Is it fair? Think big, dream big. You may achieve, may not achieve. But trust me, more often than not, you'll find the ways and the means to achieve those dreams. As I started saying, it's in your head. It's in your head. Your head is the biggest friend, your head is the biggest enemy. Depends on how you want to utilize your head. If you can get the right thoughts, it can be a great success. Now, often we say many PDGs might have told you, many governors might have told you, Rotary does not happen in Evanston, the headquarters. Rotary does not happen in the governor's office. Rotary does not happen in the director's office. Rotary happens in the clubs. Rotary happens in the clubs. All of us may play a role in different capacities, but Rotary happens in the clubs, nowhere else. And presidents, let me end with one small statement. In the club, don't be under the mistaken impression that Rotary is what happens during meetings. Rotary is what happens between the meetings. Think about it. Rotary is what happens between the meetings. A strong club will have continuous interaction engagement among its members, irrespective of when the meeting is held. Clubs which meet only during meetings and not in touch otherwise are not so strong clubs. So Rotary is what happens not only during the meetings, but what happens between the meetings. So if you really want to take a club to the next level, make a paradigm shift, consider what happens between the meetings as well. That will be the key to your success. That will be the key to your success. So finally, friends, you have all taken on a challenge courageously, boldly, with the desire to do something big, something good, something more than what you thought could have been done. My request is not to, of course, Vinod will have a lot of awards sometime. At the end of the next year, you'll have a big award ceremony. Who is your award chairman, Vinod? Yeah, so you know whom to contact, right? Now, jokes apart, come 30th June, or let's say 1st of July 2026, all of you will be past presidents, IPPs. 1st of July 2026, all the presidents-elects here will become IPPs then. So you may even block Vinod Sarogi's number from your phone. You know how to block? I can teach you that. You may I'm sure many of you might want to block Jay Sridhar's number, District Learning Facilitator also. No, you can. Who all want to block his number on 1st of July 2026? No, you don't have to raise both hands. One hand is enough. You may block all these numbers. You may block my number also. I don't bother you too much, so don't worry. But on a more serious note, on 1st of July, when you wake up and go to brush your teeth, there'll be somebody whom you will see in front on the mirror. That is the one person you can never block. That's yourself. So if you can, on 1st of July 2026, can look at the mirror and say, I've done the best I can. You've had a great year. Good luck. God bless.
Thank you.